Are we live?
I hit the live button just to see what was going to happen in this whole situation. So if we've still got an echo, we can cut it here and we can start over.
We spent about 20 minutes trying to fix the echo. So if
I know, and I'm not even sure the echo's there. I'm kind of
it's
at
real,
this point.
bro.
I believe that you're making it up, but not intentionally. I think your brain is just so paranoid and so worried it's creating an echo.
But it's an audio medium. I know that you've made us do video, but this is actually an audio
You are correct.
medium. So if the audio is bad.
It is an unacceptable issue that we should fix. I'm just saying at this particular moment in time, I feel like we have fixed the echo, and now we're just so paranoid about it that it's like a phantom echo. It's not actually there, but we sense it. We hear it.
Come on, let me hear, let's get louder. Welcome to Talking Counter.
Are you using the start that we already recorded? Are you going to use that?
I think I am. Just to chuck it in there for shits and giggles, if that's cool.
I just don't want to repeat myself, that's all. I just need the people to know.
I think Chad's at a point where he's like, let AI take my role as well, in this podcast. Just get something in there, like it's becoming too much work.
We could probably blow this podcast up if we turned it into like a VTubing Counter-Strike podcast. Like, what if we just all became virtual anime avatars of ourselves and just
of ourselves? Yeah. Why not get creative, Jason? Become like a cat or
I think we could create our own avatars of the personalities that we wanted to be when we were younger, before we were jaded. Like the people we wanted to turn out to be. That's the characters we could create. The people that we thought were coming in our future before we were ravaged by esports and gaming industries.
But I think we're way more fun versions now.
Yeah, maybe.
Scarred by esports. What would you have been, Jason? What did you go to school for, man?
Oh my God, I failed out of school. I don't know. I was a little bit of everything. I wasn't a good student.
School sucked.
I was a good student.
It's hard
I wasn't
when you become
very
an
good
alcoholic during college.
Yeah, well, that's kind of an American tradition. So that one is something we all sort of walk into.
Yeah, but people usually grow out of it. You just kind of
championed it. Yeah. I beat the game, really, when you think about it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I was going to be. I was working in an auto factory before I got into esports, and maybe that wasn't going to be a great path, probably. But you never know.
Right, you would have ended up homeless, considering all the different crises in America, right? And you worked a factory job, you would hurt your back. We all know, we've all seen the Netflix shows and the movies, right? Chad would have been a plumber, and I would have been working in a bank, which is the worst out of the three. So I think we're all better off with esports.
Maybe not psychologically.
Jason, I reckon you would have been head of the automobile company at some point. All right, I see some faith for you there. You're an industrious man. You would have made it happen.
Risen through the ranks, as long as they promote from within, which doesn't seem to be a thing much these days. I think, if they have that philosophy, I would have killed it. I would have been great. Anyway,
it's the old American way, guys. I'm on edge.
Yeah, about what? What you got?
You
this
hear
time?
it again?
First of all. No, I'm not on edge about the echo, but the echo will always live in the back of my mind.
Exactly.
So the echo could be there, but I'm not on edge about that. I'm on edge about two other things. And I'm trying to, I know it's there, it's bubbling under the surface, and I'm trying to drag them back in, and I'm trying to be a mature, older man of the space, and I'm trying to look at things and be like, yeah, okay, it's fine. We'll see how it adapts and everything. First one is this Anubis situation. And I'm really trying. I really like new maps and updates to maps, and I like theory crafting. It's probably one of my favorite things about Counter-Strike. I like the holistic ecosystem to see how it's building over the 20 years I've been involved in it, from the competitive side, I like to see how the map changes and how the pro teams want to implement, and I like theory crafting and thinking about what utility and timings and this, and that's what I like doing as an in-game leader. And that's really quite difficult to do with this Anubis. The new Anubis, this new hole, the door's being turned around the other way, a gap over towards E-box, and a fucking box moved on the A side. They're really, it's not like Mirage. It's not like Dust 2. You can't add a bench So like window boost is now doable on your own. Sure, you make noise, but it's not like adding a box so you can jump up elevator. Those two maps already fundamentally played well. They're two of the most beloved maps in all of Counter-Strike. Anubis has a fundamental problem with the map as to why the pros don't like it, because the CTs constantly have to be active. And just my initial thoughts, and this is why I'm on the edge, these changes, I don't believe they address that fundamental issue in any way, shape, or form. And I'm just, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. Maybe I need to wait. Maybe I need to watch another Foot versus Eyeballers that just ended 30 minutes ago, where Eyeballers won fucking 10 straight rounds to win the game on the T side or whatever the fuck it was. I need to take a deep breath and find my center. I'm really sorry, everyone.
It's okay. Let's break this down. Let's maybe chop it up into pieces and focus bit by bit. Let's start with the Anubis changes. You don't think they're enough to change the gameplay to where the CTs feel they can do different things?
No, I don't at all.
What are the purpose of these changes? I saw the changes. They created the drop down window is now a little bit more safe for the CTs. It's not on the bridge. It's to the left in front of where the double doors are.
Yes.
There's a new hole in the E-box room for them to throw utility, and that hole leads where? Is that to throw utility up towards double doors?
Back a platform. Goes to back platform. So it goes both ways. If you're playing on the platform, you can try and clear the Ts out who have taken E-box. If you're in there as the Ts, you can throw utility up there to try and clear players off of the platform. But I never really thought taking either of the bomb sites was an issue for the Ts. So more ways for them to throw nades doesn't feel like a good change, at least as far as balancing the map is concerned.
Isn't the window moving away from the bridge going to give CTs the ability to break up any kind of timing towards E-box and shifting between the bomb sites?
In my opinion, not really, because in Anubis, the meta, right, you're going to put pressure mid, you're going to smoke window, you're going to molly doors. So if you do that, then the CT isn't going to be able to play ahead of that because he's in this little pocket which can be cleared or will be getting burnt. And then they turn the doors around, so sure, you can play behind that molly so that you can focus on that angle, but it's just one angle. And then you can flash that angle as the Ts and you're hard clearing one spot. Sure, the CTs could like flash back through, but it's like, let's say you get a bad timing or you flash in and the Ts are spamming just that narrow corridor, then you're in no man's land or you're dead. They can also take the water control and they can boost up on the T side and they can have an angle through the doors all the way deep middle.
Okay, that's intense.
If you take your best spawn timing on the CT side, you can run straight out the gap and drop into water. But I didn't really feel like the CTs had any issues contesting water on first timings anyway through connector as well as A main pushes with like a T-stairs smoke and a couple of flashes over. And then I saw some people saying, well, this means you can play nobody at A and you can play three guys mid. And like I can kind of see that. I wouldn't play nobody at A. Maybe I'd do it like an old cache where you do like a 1-3-1. So you'd have like two guys with the best spawns drop out the window. And then you'd have one guy A main, one guy watching B main, and one guy going con. But you still have the same fundamental problem, which is the Ts can wait out the T-stairs smoke. They can stay at rugs. Once the util starts to fade, you either replenish or you don't, and then you're caught in no man's land in less than favorable fights. So I'm just a little bit disappointed. I don't want to say I was expecting bigger changes. I think I was hoping there would be bigger changes. And it's just like, and I'm sure it will grow on me. These are just my initial thoughts, and maybe I'm just having a shit day because I read a comment, and I'll get to that as our next topic.
Oh, good.
But I'm just a little bit like, I wish it was more. This is why I related it to Dust 2, and this is why I related it to Mirage with the bench change and the box change. The box change on the A site for Anubis is the best change in my opinion. I think it actually makes the bomb site slightly more retakeable. If you're splitting from mid to A, it's also better for the Ts coming through because there's less angles you have to worry about. And that's cool. And they also put some scaffolding on the wall so you can't be on that little broken angle where you could kind of like tuck in.
Yeah.
You can't be there anymore. I think that's good. But again, like maybe I'm alone here, but my impression of the map was that how easy it was for Ts to get map control. That was the problem. And I don't think any of these changes address that. And I hope that there's more, but
you have no hope.
I know
you have no hope, do you, Chad? It's one of those
there
days.
won't be more. The best thing about the update is the fucking movement, which is one step forward, two steps back. But Yeah, I don't know. Me and Rush played a comp on it. I ran around on it. We tested the timings on it. I stayed up all night thinking about it. I'm not usually defeated. I'm normally the Valve apologist.
And it's Anubis that took you down as well. Is what's really.
And I like the map.
Yeah, that's the sad thing. It feels like a betrayal of sorts.
I'm crushed, man.
I don't know. I never really liked it, and that's the reason for it. Like what you're talking about is it's fine for the CTs to make plays. You know, you have to do it on every map, but the fact that you're forced to go for it early just makes it so much easier for the Ts to play the map, right? Like knowing that sooner or later you'll be getting control of these zones, for example, mid and whatnot, and that the bomb sites aren't too difficult to take, right? So it's almost like the map is flipped from the get-go, right? Where the CTs are the one doing more plays and more moves and being more aggressive, which is counterintuitive to the game, right? Like
Honestly, I kind of like it. I kind of like it.
But
I wish
not to this extreme.
I like the exchange of the CTs being the ones who have to make plays, but I don't like the feeling that it's out of desperation and them having no options. You know,
I think the problem is also the majority of the plays are shitty in a way. You know, like they're not
like a B main.
If you think about the B main,
you don't have you don't have great options, right? Because Cache, I guess, is a decent comparison because it's also a map where you would focus on mid maybe at the start if you wanted to fight it, but eventually you would leave it as the CT, right? Like you just can't hold it indefinitely, and then you would take A main control, for example, or do something else. Maybe you would play retake on B. Like you would do those things where you would willingly give up control to focus somewhere else, but it felt like, you know, those flash plays into A main and some of the more aggressive plays on Cache are better plays, better options than, you know, the aggro pushes outside of B main on Anubis and some of the different things that you go for, right? Like that's why a lot of players also dislike it, because it's just, you know, from bad to worse in a way, right? Like there's nothing you feel, oh, this is like great. It's like, well, I just hope we have the right read to do this play, because if we don't, we're just dead, and that's it.
Yeah, I think like there's so many different things to unpack with this map, which is good because we're here to have a conversation. But like Jason, I agree with your standpoint that I don't mind that there's a map in the pool that kind of challenges the norm. I don't mind that, right? I don't have a problem with that. But the issue extends into what Yanko's saying is all of your options feel like bad options on the CT side. Like pushing out of A main, you have to worry about carpet as well as T-stairs. And I understand people are going to start talking about layers of utility, but all this stuff has a counter for the T-side. That's why it was a T-sided map when it departed the pool. And that's why the discourse from a lot of the pros was they didn't like it, right? Because of the challenging side of it. Now, I am happy to see it come back with the new economy, because we're going to get to see like kind of how that changed. And there's also some changes in this update to do with the MP7 and the MP5.
Booyah!
Yeah, we love the SMGs, don't we? As old school Counter-Strike fans, we love to talk about fucking SMGs. But my thing is, like, initially, I wish, like, if they're not willing to make a structural change, and people will say, no, but they did make a structural change. They moved the window. It's like, well, to me, that's not really a big structural change. Like, if you shut off, like, a whole point, like, let's say that, like, I don't like the way the doors and the window work in middle, right? Like, I'm not talking about the hole. I'm talking about the doors and window, that combo that existed before.
How does the doors flipping change feel? What is that like?
So you can hold an angle of the doors, right, for them when they come and peek mid. But I think the problem is, like, the flow of they smoke window like they normally would and molly doors to clear at that pocket. They only have to clear you at the door angle. So, like, even if you're AWPing that line and they swing into it, right, it's like, we know how hard it is for AWPers anyway, and it's a pre-fire, right? For the T, they know they only have to fight this angle behind the door. So, and you know, some guy, I said I made a tweet about this, and some guy was like, "Oh yeah, but you know what did he say? He's like, the molly doesn't clear the guy behind the doors." And I'm like, "Yeah, well, it extends, it pushes you off a little bit, especially if you throw the old school one that I was doing, but." So you can stand behind the flames, but if they throw one flash, now you're blind. And he said, oh, well, they can flash as well. It's like, well, yeah, they can. But like in the way I'm seeing this exchange, I wouldn't want to get caught in the no man's land of middle between camera exit and temple exit when the T's have that control. Like you never wanted to get caught there before anyway. I think if they could do something like this, right? This in my mind is one of the easier changes that would have an impact on all of the timings and give the CTs all of the timings in their favor, which might go too far early. But I think the original map creator or some bloke, he fucking tweeted at me a while ago, and what he did was in T-Spawn, people might not even know where it is, but there's like a truck. You can't actually access it, but it's like a blocked off area behind them. There's a truck there. You remove the truck and you make that playable space and you put the T-Spawns in there. So now you've dropped them back by, I don't know, a second or half. Now, let's say on the CT side that you can now push out B main and you can have two guys push out B main and one guy gets across safely to the right side without getting naded at the 147 timing. Because that's what it was. You just sit for wait, 147,
no one's ever going to push early.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you can cross before the util comes in, and now the T's have to work to get B main control back. They actually have to wait. So now you have to get B main control back, you have to get water control back, and then the map becomes stages. I think at the moment, it's still the same fundamental problem.
I think you'd probably have to change some shit outside of B main though. Like no one's gonna push out and hold that area with no cover or fallback whatsoever.
But there is good combos
you
could do.
You're so overextended in the first 5 seconds. Like it's nice for a cheesy mix-up play, but it's not going to be anything that changes the map overall. I think, at least in my mind, I think my hard thing is I don't know. This is like one of those areas where we probably shouldn't be thinking like this, but I don't know. Like doesn't this feel like just a stopgap for cash?
Yeah, but if maps are going to get cycled in and out every season, right? And we just lost Train, so let's say they have to go and work on Train again, and then next time, let's say they take out Anubis and add Cat, well, then they're going to have to take out a map next time. Yeah. So you're still going to have to fix this fucking map.
I'd also dislike it if it were, if maps were in and out that often, because as a team, like, what's the point? Right, like
this Train one was surprising to see it go so early.
I think
if you're going to play, if Anubis was out for a season, now it's back, then it's going to be out again. Yeah. Like that's
bad. I agree.
You want to have some consistency, right? Like if you take Anubis out, take it out for a year or two, then bring it back, and if it's back, then it's back for a long time again, right? So teams if teams commit to the map, they're not in danger of it being removed the same year.
I mean,
right,
if you're a pro team right now, you're devoting the least time to Anubis, I would imagine, right?
Well, it depends on what your permaban is.
Yeah, it's a problem for teams that played Train, right? Like they have to either adopt Anubis or adopt the map that was their permaban. So, some teams, Vitality in theory doesn't have a choice because Ancient is their permaban. Furia in theory could, pick up Ancient instead of Anubis, but they I don't think they will. And for some teams, it's a benefit, like Aurora, even though I don't know how much it's going to change in the grand scheme of things for their situation. But yeah, just a little bit more consistency, right? Because Train also got some changes, and now it's like completely out of the pool.
Yeah. I think like Train being removed when you see the stats of it being like the least played map, I understand that, because we also need to remind ourselves they're not just making choices because of the pro scene, they're making choices because of the player base too. So like, when you see that, because I actually think Train was evolving nicely, like at least it was interesting to me. Maybe it wasn't to the viewers, maybe it wasn't to the players, and that's all cool, right? And I understand why Valve are making this choice. It's data driven, but I think for Anubis to come back in, my expectation was it was going to be bigger changes. I said it. It's not expectation. My hope. My hope. I don't have any expectations when it comes to what Valve are going to do, right? And the fact that it's just like they've gone, okay, shit, cash isn't ready. Well, what are some of these things that we could quickly like jazz up on Anubis? It's like, let's just change.
They probably have a list from like when it was in the pool, right? They have like a list of ideas they went back and like just refreshed into. And I mean that'd be like kind of like one thing that I'd argue almost in their credit, which I know is a dangerous thing, but I'm not going to sit here and say these changes blow anyone's socks off or fundamentally change the map, but I think they probably have a progression of changes, knowing the way that they kind of approach these things at times of, we're going to see how this goes for the next month, and we're going to see how this changes the way the map is played and what kind of impact it has on a wide scale and a large level. And then we've got another round of changes that we may or may not make if we feel like they're necessary to be able to tweak things and if we want to take things in this direction or this direction. So, yeah, I think it's a bummer that it obviously takes so long to get the proper changes in, but probably a pretty efficient way of going about it.
I think the
Sucks for the pro
problem,
scene, for sure.
I mean, another problem is also you're not going to see structural map changes that often anymore, right? Like once before when we had, overpass and cobblestone, like that was probably the last two maps
changes,
where once the map was released in the updates, the maps would be structurally changed to the point where the map is completely different than what it used to be. I guess, I don't know if Vertigo falls under that. It's somewhere.
It had some big ones.
Somewhere in between, maybe, but you see it with Anubis and Train. Of course, Train after the rework, it's only minor changes that they're adding. So I think those days are behind us where Anubis will see an update where it's structurally different so that these points that we're talking about are, being addressed. And I think that's the problem. Like, I think structurally the map isn't sound. That's why you have all these issues, and minor changes aren't going to cut it. It's just not a great map. I mean, I hated Vertigo too, but for example, Ancient, I'm fine with Ancient. I think Ancient is a good map. It plays nicely. I think it gives you some nice options where you don't feel as terrible as some of these other maps.
Aggressive, passive,
honestly, man, not every map should be the same. Not every map needs to have 3 distinct lanes or 4 like Dust 2 has and some of the classics have. Those maps should absolutely be in the pool because they are the classics, but it's fine to have some of these maps that play differently, that are custom, that have a different flavor, because that's what's also going to, for the casual and average player, make it more interesting, like so that maps are different and you get to play different things. But even if we talk about pro play, I mean, that's what's going to separate some of these teams, right? Like we talk about map pools and how deep is your map pool, and you're going to have to be good on some of these maps. They spent a lot of time leading up to the major talking about whoever becomes the best on overpass will have, it will determine a lot who's going to win the major in the end, right? It's also for some of the lower tier teams, if they can master, if your best maps can be Anubis and overpass +1, right? Like then you can be in a really good position to get some upset wins too, because for tier 1 teams and the amount of time you have to practice, and just still we have some legacy players who are way more comfortable with maps like Nuke, Dust 2, Mirage, Inferno and whatnot. Like that's your opportunity to break through.
Yeah, I think because the reason I'm maybe a bit let down by this is because I also liked playing Anubis, and I know that seems weird, like I'm complaining that the changes aren't big enough, and it's like, well, if you like playing it before, but I think that's the thing. I was hoping to be like they're a new mental challenge. I know I'm mentally challenged, but like a new mental challenge of, okay, how are we going to problem solve this new thing? Like, what's the layer? I really liked it when
able
Anubis
to tinker with like a philosophy of approach to the map.
And it's and now I'm looking at it and going, okay, like I said, let's send the first 2 spawns out the window to super contest water. But I just think it's going to result in similar stuff. And I really do hope that I'm wrong. Like, I hope that this is just me. I've woken up on the wrong side of the bed and I'm just in a bit of a shit mood and I'm like down on this change because of something else right now. That's what I hope it is. And I hope that like I see the pros playing it and I see some cool innovations and stuff. One thing I was thinking, they added this box on the A site, and I saw Kakafu was tweeting about it. He said you can only crouch on top of that box. They tend to do this a lot where you can't actually boost on top of things. Like Dice box on A on overpass, you can go on top of it, but you can't boost on top of it, or you can, but they can only crouch on your head or some shit. I'm like, why? Like, what? Why are we limiting?
Especially when they ruined, like they deleted skyboxes, didn't they? Like, why would you have it for crouching?
This I don't understand, because like if you look at it, if you made it so this tall box on this A side that they've just done, you can boost on and you can stand on. If you get 2 players on top of that, you could probably boost on there and look through one of the windows and harass into water. And there you go. There's an option for the CT. Something cheeky that they
nice
can
way
do,
to get like
right?
a little overpass, triple boost, get you an easy
kill.
kill.
Because when you're stuck in the site or whatever and you can't really do anything, this can be an option, or good with a saved gun or something. Just things like that which add a little bit of creativity to it as opposed to what we have now. But I mentioned before, right, there was some other stuff. They also with the movement, and I saw a bunch of videos with this to do with like either if you have velocity coming from like a higher level onto a lower one or a lower level one onto a higher one. I forget which it is right now, but there's an impact there. But they remove the stamina with jumping, which feels like it's made just hopping generally like a little bit easier, because I have terrible movement and I was being able to hit a couple of hops as well. For the big movement people, I think, some of the stuff is good, some of the stuff is bad. That's why I said like 1 step forward, 2 steps back. So I think we're in the same spot. And maybe these things that are not working as in, like with the movement now are probably not as intended. So I'm hoping that one's just a bit of a fix.
When I was reading it, I know nothing about any of this shit, but when I was reading it, it felt weird. And I felt like it was like a change that's made to help them make more changes in the future. Like, this was like almost like a setup update to be like, this is, a little bit silly now, but it's going to allow us to do new things in this path in the future.
What is this? Landing time is now calculated with sub-tick precision.
Yeah, I see
that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, jumping and landing no longer affects stamina. The landing speed penalty is now a simple function of landing time. Okay. Any jump press with SV_bhop_time_window centered on the landing time that hasn't been penalized by jump spam penalty time will be treated as a successful bunny hop. Legacy jump behavior can be restored on private servers with SV legacy jump. Okay. So yeah, it's good that they're at least tinkering with it, because we know that there's problems with like surf and people feel like they feel a bit like heavier in this game. So yeah, we need a kind of a movement expert to talk about that. But yeah, any changes that are trying to address the problems that those people are talking about is good. What else do we got here? Reduced audio output latency. That just sounds like a good thing.
I know it does. It sounds really positive. Like you see that and you're like, fuck yes.
Yeah, I think less is more, right? That's what we say in the business. They changed the knife sound. So like when you slashing a player, like right click and left click have different noises, but also depends on where you're hitting the player. Also has different sound effects. No, well, I didn't catch that in the 3 clicks Philip video, but there definitely is different of where you're hitting the players for sure. So there's some stuff there. They added a bunch of new skins. That's exciting.
Increased material fidelity. I've been waiting for that one.
Yeah, that really seemed pretty like huge. You couldn't notice a lot there. But I think
the
this
MP5
is where
buff?
Yeah. Well, I need to play a bit more with that. I was running around in deathmatch with it earlier. I was like, I don't know. I need to play with it a bit more.
I hope it's good.
I hope
it's good. Bring the MP5.
But I don't want to see people buying the MP7 against rifles, Jason. What are we talking about?
Yeah, probably not. But the MP7 still has found like a cool place. I feel like there's a couple of players who just fucking are kings with it,
Yeah, maybe. This is the one that kind of excites me, because this is where we can find maps of the future if people in the community play them. So they removed the maps that were in like Agency and Golden, etc., and they added Warden, Stronghold, Alpine to competitive and to casual and deathmatch, and then they added a couple of Wingman modes. The Wingman maps obviously don't matter for top tier play, but the other ones could have some interesting stuff about them, right? So yeah, that's about it, really. I was watching the Eyeballers versus Foot game on the new map, on the new Anubis just before on Olaf's stream. And I saw some things happening, but nothing that really changed my mind.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, maybe as time goes on, it's been pretty recent too. Everyone's probably still using the same old tactics, you'd imagine, right?
Well, it only happened last night,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
So I don't know. And ESL only decided today. So, like right now in Bounty, Liquid versus Falcons, it's going to be third
version?
map there. But they're playing the old version, right?
Okay,
yeah. Whereas the ESL said effective immediately.
Yeah,
for
I saw
all
that
their
because it was just
so
a
mid-qualifier. Yeah.
Yeah, which is kind of crazy. But that's all right, Jason. You can celebrate. Simple's already been eliminated, mate. So
all right, don't position me like that. Don't make it seem like I'm throwing a fucking party every time his life gets more difficult. No, I don't. That was a bummer. But what are you gonna do? I don't have to say anymore about that shit.
He played great.
You just don't have to talk about him. Like we don't talk about Big.
Yeah, it's true.
It's crazy. They have a Portuguese flag. That's so funny.
I do actually want him to do well. I do actually want him to win. But I don't know. This is just business as expected, I guess, when that change was made. So whatever. Whatever.
Yeah, they obviously haven't had a lot of time to play together, but I think just whenever you see Simple's name, it's going to have a higher expectation to it, right? But if we ground ourselves in what's realistic in Counter-Strike, it's going to be a long way back up that ladder. And I think there's going to be a couple of slips down on the way, right? So, like, there's just this expectation with big names or big organizations or bigger signings. And I think because of the way this one happened, people knowing that they were spending a lot of money to get the core to be able to compete. It's like, well, you've done that now. It's time to put up the results, because otherwise that money's just going to be wasted, and then they'll drop to obscurity, and then they won't be in the bubble anymore for any invites. So it is troubling.
I just think it's so stupid. I think it's just like one of those things where I feel like I can like see the future through the fucking past.
All right, Professor X.
I know it makes me feel like I'm in some like fucking sci-fi film where I'm just like, I've seen this play out over the past 20 years, just like hundreds of times, where it's just like you get players who had incredible success and then they go into a tough spot, but instead of like finding the real reasons why they're struggling, it's like, okay, we're not in the invite bubble. We're playing all these online games. How am I supposed to care about this? Get me into the professional scene. And then we're in the professional scene. And then the issues are still there because we haven't actually resolved any of the underlying issues. But now we're going to say, yeah, we got us in the core, but it's not with the players. We need the player. And like, I'm just going to sit here and look at Electronic performing subpar to average, Simple looking great, but playing with, I don't know, this whole experiment. I feel like we've seen these teams play out where we just know it's not going to improve. It's just going to be this cycle of us talking about this topic again and again and again and again until the end of time. So whatever.
It's just, man, the lineup is just so unbelievable. Like the collab that no one really expected and
or wanted.
I don't think anyone wanted. Yeah,
even
exactly.
the people collabing.
I can't imagine like that TeamSpeak during Prague.
No.
Like you have the Saw core, you have Simple and Electronic, the duo, and then you have Taz in there as a coach. Like nothing about any of that makes any sense.
It feels like you have three very defined pieces of a team that are always going to feel segmented from one another. And that's obviously an easy thing to say from the outside, but the Portuguese guys are going to have their own little stick together group, and Electronic and Simple are going to have their own isolated little group and thing going on. And Taz is going to try and fit in and bring them both together, but he's going to be isolated on his own as well. I don't know, just weird.
I think it's also important, like it was important for me on FaZe when we were searching for an IGL early on. It's like you need to get a guy in there who the players are going to respect as well, right? Like when you have on a team guys like Olaf Meister and Nico, who are very opinionated and a certain type of a player, right? Someone needs to come in who can lead with authority and who they are going to be able to trust in a way as well. And I'm just thinking, like, why would Simple care about what Mutiris has to say? He should. I think Mutiris is a good IGL, but when you just put him like, talk about CS and then whatnot, I think it's just going to create very weird situations for them. I mean, and then something happens where, Simple has 3 times the kills that Mutiris has in a best of 3 that just happened the other night, right? And it's, in a way, going to add fuel to the fire. That's why I don't think this is a project where, once they have enough time to practice, everything's going to pan out. Like, doesn't feel like one of those.
No, it is a weird one. I see what you're saying, Jason, about talking about the same things over and over and over again until we die. But I think that's kind of how this is going to go. There are going to be certain topics. There are going to be certain topics that we're going to talk about. Now, Simple's obviously not one until we die, but like there's going to be certain things about different elements of competition or setups or online versus LAN or team culture. There's a really good interview, by the way, if people at home haven't listened to it. I don't know if you guys have had a chance yet, but I listened to all of the interviews that HLTV put out over the last 24 hours. Besides the Crizzen one, I didn't listen to that one. But they put out all these interviews. They did like a video one with Apex, one with Zontix. They did one with Zway.
I read them. I haven't listened to them.
Did one with Sid. They did one. The PR one is really funny. The PR one is quite a funny interview.
I thought something good was going to happen, but...
Yeah, it doesn't really instill a lot of confidence for your teammates. But also, it's quite when you hear like the tone and the way that he's talking through things. I feel like maybe Game of Legion shouldn't have said yes that he could do the interview, because it is quite telling when you hear a young man talking about these things and whatnot. At least reading between the lines, it doesn't feel like Either way, the point being, we're talking about these things until the cows come home. And I think what we need to do is we need to create like a bingo card. And within a year, how many times do we, like booths, right? How many times are we going to talk about booths? We're going to talk about them at least once a year. Painful. Right. The crowd cheating / booths is kind of like the same one. We can put that together, right? Mix those because those conversations come hand in hand. Valve doesn't give a fuck about the game, man. The community like outcry about Valve. We can whack that one in there.
Everything's cyclical. It's all going to come right on back for sure.
100%. So it's going to be one of those things. Anyway, the reason I referenced those interviews, I'm fucking all over the place right now. It was because Apex was talking a lot about the culture. Because he was asked about Xtaz, because he essentially, I don't know who was saying, I don't know who made the comments, but Nero asked him, he's like, people were saying that you guys don't really talk good about Xtaz, so that means you can't be a very good coach. And that's where the headline,
obviously,
like
it's not because you don't suck your coach's dick that he's not good. Now, if you want to learn about team culture, I tell you what, read this bad boy right here.
But it does kind of digress into that conversation, right? Because it's talking about he's essentially saying that Apex is saying that he thinks that coaches, the majority of their work or their impact is done before they're actually in the server.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like it's less about the timeouts while the game is live. It's more about the, helping the team prep or the practice days or building the right culture or keep, that type of stuff, having open lines of communication. And Apex is essentially talking about a lot of those things. And that's why when there's certain troubled players who I see the community being like, why isn't this guy on a team? Or why isn't Blame F on a better team? These type of guys are just not good culture fits, right? Like, and that right there, they need a team to like be built around them. Whereas if you're trying to put them in a successful team in the modern era, normally, right, there needs to be a culture established. That's such a big point that is hard to convey to the viewer, like especially people who haven't done any form of like team sports or anything, because you don't know what that feeling's like. If you don't know what that feeling's like, you just look at the numbers and then you become stats Andes and we sit and argue about Donk versus Zywu for 4 weeks every year because we fucking hate ourselves.
Yeah, and there's no way to talk about it because because it's not a stat. Like there's no way to really kind of fully explain it. I don't know. It's hard to put into words.
No, but it's absolutely like true. For a coach, like you do 90% of your work before the game goes live, right? And Apex was a great answer. Talked about some of the stuff, culture building, also working with players individually so that everyone is motivated and happy, like figuring out how to set up your goals so that you can keep peaking at the right time and whatnot, because in theory you want your IGL and yourself to be aligned on how you see the game, right? And what you think the answer is in a certain situation. Obviously, during games, you don't have to play as a coach, so you have a bit more freedom to look at the big picture, and maybe you see some things that the players miss, and that's your only thing that you need to focus on, is if things are going wrong, thinking about what could the potential answer be, and then you take a time out and sort of help the players, give them a call, or if you just need to fire them up, cuss them out a little bit so that they bring some more energy to the table. But yeah, I think it was Maui who made that comment, is like, well, they never mention, Xtaz in their interviews, so how can we praise him when that doesn't happen? I mean, you're never going to get from people or from players, a detailed description of, our coach did this, and that, and this is what happens. I think it's very telling from when you see a team play, or you see how often they can come back, how often they look defeated, right? Which was something that you could very clearly see with, let's say, the Astralis lineup, and that had multiple reasons with that, right? But when you see a team have that resolve and determination and the confidence, right, that even if they're down, they're not out, and they're going to keep fighting. Like, yeah, that's definitely a team that has good culture. That's a team. And I really liked what Apex said about, it's also about keeping people, happy. I wouldn't say it happy, but it's, feel good, play good, right? Like you need to be willing. It's hard, man. Like being in a tier 1 team, it's extremely hard because it's nonstop. Right? Like you go to a tournament, you're playing at an event, you go back home, you're practicing for the next event. Even if you skip events here and there, you're not going to the fucking Maldives, for 10 days to put your feet up. You're still sort of practicing. Maybe you get a couple of days off to spend with your family or girlfriend or friends or your dog, whoever you have. But after that, it's back to work and prepping for the next event. It's very grueling. And if you don't enjoy spending time with your teammates and with your team, you're not going to have a very good run as a player. And it's very hard to be a successful team, right? Because it starts with getting on Discord on whatever at 10 a.m. to make sure everyone is awake, right, for 30 minutes, just talking to each other while everyone's outside walking, right? Then at 11, theory starts for, let's say, an hour, depending how much you have to do. Then you have 2 maps of practice, then a break for food, and then you go back and play a couple of extra maps of practice, let's say, and that's it. That's your whole day done. And that's like that for 4 days, 5 days. Then you get on a plane, you go to Paris, to their facility, to boot camp for 3 or 4 more days. Then you get on a plane again, you go to Poland to go to this tournament. You have media days, you have all this stuff that you might not necessarily want to do, but it's a part of the job. It's like that for everyone on this planet, right? But being around people that you enjoy spending time with, and
it makes it so much easier.
It makes it so much easier, and it's like any relationship too, man. Not everyone's going to be 100% every day. So today, you're going to have to do a little bit more to pull your teammate with you, right? But when you have that sort of a culture within the team, that guy is going to wake up sooner or later, right? Like he's not going to be emo or in a bad mood for the entire day or whatever. Maybe he just had a rough night's sleep, maybe something, whatnot.
We've all had that one teammate.
Yep.
We've all had that one teammate who can't fucking rebound.
The goal is
to not have that
teammate. And that's the motherfucker point that gets caught.
Because I also agree with that, man. Like there's so many good players. There's so many, we can talk about this guy is better than the other guy. But if you told someone like that, even a year ago, that Messi and Flamesy are going to be, 2 key players in what may have been the best year in CS for a team, or one of the or a team that could potentially challenge Astralis, people would be like, "What? Like, really? Why don't they get like, I don't know, Bit and whoever, put some other guys on that team?" But that just tells you, it's about composition and having the right pieces that can work well together. You put those 2 guys on another team, they probably don't have the same output, and the team isn't having the results that they have. But that's the whole point. In this team, with these teammates and the staff that they have and everyone around them, like they found a way to be mega successful.
Mega.
I'm so scared to talk, man. I'm not just feeling like if I
we're all on eggshells right now.
I haven't thought about the echo at all.
I don't hear myself that well because I turn down my headphones.
It's not even a thought.
I feel like I will
mind.
sound like I will sound even more like a dickhead in this episode. Like I'll sound like a guy who is like half in between AI and a human.
I think you're kind of nailing the level of dickhead you normally sound like. I think you're pretty consistent so far. Yeah.
Yes, Jason.
I was going to mention that we have a Liquid Falcons game going on just briefly. I don't know if anyone has it up on a second monitor.
Blaster said I can co-stream it, but this one, why? Okay,
doesn't interest
Jason,
you.
It
doesn't interest you.
Okay, but it doesn't interest me because Falcons have a stand-in, so I'm learning nothing.
Yeah. That's fair.
But people want to watch because they're excited to see the game. But I'm not excited to see the game because the game in the
bro.
A game like this, I'm watching more for Liquid than I am for Falcons, anyways. So
but
that's
you
why
would have been watching more for Liquid than Falcons in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I find it entertaining. That's why I'm watching.
And Yanko will still watch because Nico's at the server anyway, right? But I think like
I think you can take conclusions away without making any big, grand, sweeping changes to your perspective.
For which team?
Well, you certainly can
If
for
Liquid lose.
Yeah, exactly. You're gonna make it's gonna change your opinion.
Yeah, it is. But at the same time, it's like the thing that's most interesting for me on the Falcon side of the server here is to watch the Academy kid play. Nucleons,
okay.
Right? The other side of the equation is this for me. And when I think about this going into Krakow, this is my big thought process for Falcons because they're in my opinion, one of the top 6 teams. They're a team who can push and challenge Vitality. That's why I care about the actual Falcons, not the version of Falcons we have at this tournament right now. Online, Falcons played and they took care of business and they get a nice warm-up on the way right to Krakow. Now, does it suck that Kiyasuke couldn't go to Bounty and they could get LAN reps in? Yes, a lot. But they acknowledge that they can't get Schengen visas for this kid everywhere, especially with these events being back to back. So they're going to have to prioritize some over others. And we know that teams are using, especially top teams, they use Bounty as a warm-up, whereas lower down the rank teams are using Bounty as an opportunity.
Yes.
Right? So they get in, from the Falcons camp, they get in a couple of reps online, they get some officials in, that's good, they get the juices flowing. Now, the other 4 of them get to go to LAN, they're competitors, they want to win. But they understand now the pressure is alleviated because they have this stand-in factor, they're not playing with their full roster. So with that in mind, they're now playing with less pressure, and 4 of them are getting in LAN reps to get in form, as Nico just knifes Ultimate, to play Krakow and be ready on LAN, and the only one who isn't is Kiyasuke, right? But the kid will be fine. Zonic's not with them right now as well, so they've got the assistant coach there. So like, there's a couple of other factors that play into it. So I look at it from that angle. It's like, this is great. They can go to Bounty. They can play a little bit more
game,
devoid of the stress, right? And they can warm up for LAN and they can be ready for Krakow. And I get to watch this Nucleon kids play and see if he's any good, because it's always cool to see if there's any players who are on the rise. So that's the angle there for me. For Liquid, on the other hand, we also don't think Liquid are a good team. So if Liquid win right now, that's a step. It's like, oh, okay, you can beat Falcons with a stand-in. Let's see who you get next.
I think for Liquid, it's only about the eye test, right? Like, you're only looking to see how do they look. Do they look like a unit? Do they have, their opening moves sorted? What's their mid-rounding look like? Do they look like a team that's improving? Do they look like a team at all, first and foremost, right? And are there signs of hope for you? And you can see that against no matter who a team plays against. All the circumstances for the Falcons don't matter for Liquid in that regard, right? Like, they're still going to be playing their own game. So now if you go into it and you see, I don't know, Liquid losing 5v3s, right? Because they're still doing too much, or if they
losing to Glocks.
Are a little bit one-dimensional and don't have enough in their playbook, like, that would be concerning. Or losing to Glocks, that's also concerning, Jason. Yes,
yeah, it could also be concerning. Just hypothetically, if that were to occur.
If that were to happen,
yeah, that'd be weird.
You wouldn't expect that to happen, but it could. Anything's possible.
Yeah, I think for me with Liquid, it's kind of like my barometer. My very general barometer is also just like keeping an eye on like who looks more comfortable in this team at the moment, like Nertz or Elige. Like, I don't necessarily think there's a whole lot of like role overlap, but I feel like I haven't been able to see both of them like popping off and looking comfortable at the same time within this team. So I'm kind of like, which one of them is happy right now? Which one of those two?
I think that they need 2 different things to thrive. These players.
But they haven't been able to connect it, because I think it's Shuhei and Elige who will have the most overlap, right? But they haven't been able to connect it in a way that one is activating the other. I feel like you're getting one or the other despite needing different things.
Okay, let's do a thought experiment here. When you think of Nertz, what type of moments do you think Nertz is best in?
I think when I see him, I think he's really good when he gets to be a little bit patient, kind of pick and choose a moment for aggression. Like, he gets to like kind of bide his time. Like, what do you
normally once he's out? Like, I think he reads situations quite well, but like, space needs to have been made for him to be in a position to take advantage of, based off of like the lay of the land. Like, a couple of pieces have fallen, has some info, and then he can calculate it. And I think he's really good at making those choices and multi-killing in those situations. But like, when you think of that, you think like, I think of Nertz in Ents. with snappy days where things are a bit more faster, and then you're finding yourself in mid rounds like 3v3s a bit more.
He was thriving in some chaos. He at least had movement. If success wasn't there, the defense was forced to move in some way.
So the other side of it is like a Liege. We know that he likes a little bit more structure, right? We know that's the case. That's obviously like a culture fit as well as wanting the game to be based a certain way in phase. Those two things didn't connect, and now he's back on Liquid, where hopefully it can be a little bit more system based for him, right? And Liege likes to go first. I don't look at these players as the same player profile. Like I look at Liege, he likes to be the guy who's taking that first angle and duel. He just said, "No, I'll just shoot you," and I think that's like he's very mechanically gifted, and I think that I like the way that he approaches these scenarios, but. It is like I was going to say an orchard. It's not that, an orchid.
An orchid, a flower.
Right.
It requires the perfect conditions to thrive, right?
A little bit of care, a little bit of love.
Yeah, and I think like, it's hard to
once a week.
It's hard to have the chaos cause so nerds can be in the mid round at the same time as it is to have a Liege being able to systematically go through. On the CT side, they both should be able to deliver, though. I'll agree with you there.
Chad, what did you think about the Shuya interview? Because you listened to all of them.
Fuck! I must have missed the Shui one. Where's this? When did that? Oh, it came out
5
before the
hours
Apex.
ago.
I missed that one. I didn't read that one. I missed that one. Fuck! I didn't even see that one.
that one was a little bit. The tone of it was a bit weird for me. I don't know what. You can even see it from the quote that's in the headline. There will never be a moment where everyone's feeling 100% comfortable. That's CS. Some comments in between that they're not focusing on keeping any one
Wait, do
player
you guys disagree
happy.
with that statement?
Well,
You both kind of gave it like the ooh. Like,
well, no, but it depends on like what the question was that probed that, right? Because I think that there's,
way to
there's
look
a
for
bit
your
that,
context. Way to look for the
well, I
context.
need it.
Chad.
I can't just react to a headline, Jason. That's
You
what I normally
can.
do. It's 2026. We're going to
The
read a little bit
question
deeper.
was, I think it's just one of the interesting things. Where on paper, a lot of people are playing new roles. Maybe you don't get all the CT spots you used to, but the Elite NAF Nerds trio of riflers feels very balanced and kind of just trying to activate in the server, right? Is that how you see it? And he was like, yeah, to be honest, like it's not a matter of we're not even focusing on the 3 players, let's say. We're trying to get the whole team integrated and to make sure they're all comfortable. It's not like we're prioritizing anyone. We want to make sure that everyone feels as comfortable as they are or as they can be. It's difficult to do because, truthfully speaking, there will never be a moment when everyone's feeling 100% comfortable on the server. But that's just how Counter-Strike is and how some teams are built. Especially in today's kind of market and esports in general, where it's difficult to get the perfect pieces aligned. I think that we definitely have something going for us, and we're working on that craft, and we're doing the best we can with it. You see what I mean? Like
I stand with my initial reaction based off the context. If anything, it justifies my initial reaction. Jason, over to you. He's reading it. He's got to read it himself.
I do need to honestly because it doesn't because even when reading through this it doesn't like really kind of trigger any concern. I don't know why you guys feel like this is like some kind of thing you read. What are you reading into this? What is the vibe
for me?
What is the
I'm
vibe
reading,
you're pulling out of this?
Me reading into this is like that they don't have the correct pieces for the team. They're trying to make it work with the pieces that they have. That's why everyone has to give a little bit, right? Like not everyone can be fully happy because they have too much overlap. So different people maybe on different maps or whatever have to, take a step back for another player. Like, for example, like we had in G2 with the Malbs and Hunter situation, right? Like Malbs would take the shitty CT roles, but he would get Hunter's T roles. Then Hunter had like worse T side roles. Like that's sort of a compromise. And I don't believe that people can't be comfortable on it. Like not everyone can be comfortable on the team. Why the fuck not?
I think it. Like,
I think. So when I read that sentence of him saying there's never going to be a moment when everyone's feeling 100% comfortable on a server, think like that. I don't know. I think you're maybe taking it a little bit too. Fucking
literally?
saying literally is a very weird thing to say, but yeah, literally in the sense that.
Wait, you're taking the words?
That's
you're saying
fucking
literally?
crazy. I cannot believe it. No, but I think like when he's saying like no one's ever going to feel 100% comfortable on the server is like someone's always going to feel like they have like you're never going to have all 5 people 100% aligned on like not everyone's going to feel comfortable with the decisions that are agreed upon as a team. You're always going to have a player and a team who's compromising 10% or 20% and saying, we'll do it this way because the other 3 people or other 4 people want to do it. I'm fine going along with that. It's not what they'd want to do. That's where I take it.
But if you have like a comprehensive way of approaching the game that everybody agrees upon, then like I get what you're saying, Jason, but I also feel like if you look at Vitality, like 100%, we know we never go 100%, right? But with that in play, it's like as the role player that this is the best,
okay.
like, and then you have to work out what your best choices as the role player are because of what else is happening. Like that's the push pull of it, right? Like.
So that's what he means. So like we've been in those environments forever. Like you've never felt, Chad, how many teams when you were IGLing did you feel 100% comfortable?
I don't know. I'm just taking from this when I read it, right? There's a lot of things that he referenced here.
I'm not trying to argue that there's not going to be kind of role clashes and those clashes of philosophy within this team. I imagine they're everywhere.
I think it's philosophy and style. That's what I
imagine they're fucking rife within this team, but I don't necessarily think there's anything inherently crazy bad about sitting there in an interview and saying, like, I didn't take any deep meaning out of this because I actually think that about every team. I think if you talk to fucking Vitality, there's probably a couple players who are relatively disgruntled about their philosophy and approach to different things that they do on different maps, but none of them fucking say anything publicly because they win.
Yeah, but that's
you get to solve things when you win.
That's the difference. No, but that's the difference, Jason. Is Vitality, I think, are a team who are playing for the team. Do Liquid strike you as a team playing for the team?
No.
Well, there you go. So, like, I think Mezzy or Rops or Apex or Zywoo or Flames has no issue sacrificing. You think Flames goes, if Flames cared about his stats, you think he would be so brave with how he runs out everywhere? No, he knows behind him fucking Zywoo's there to trade him.
I think there was probably Vitality's a weird one, but there was probably after the first season when they came back and they struggled for 3-4 months leading into the second major. I bet there was a lot of motherfuckers feeling uncomfortable in those moments because it's that uncomfortability that eventually is going to get you to the point where you learn that you're uncomfortable because you're not because you're not playing for the team.
But I'm putting that on other points. I think that it's one of these things that I remember mentioning a lot when I first transitioned from being a player into on the desks, right? And if you go into a game against an underdog team and everyone in the team knows these guys are fucking bots, right? Everyone thinks these guys are fucking bots.
Yep.
And everyone's only given 80%, but like nobody discussed that we're all only giving 80%. You're giving 80%, expecting everyone else still to be giving 100 and think we can get away with that. But now that everyone's dropped down to 80%, now you're getting pushed and now you're getting stressed. Yeah. With Vitality, I think the issue for them was one of motivation. They reached the pinnacle of the team, had the best season out of any team ever within the first 6 months, and then they have 3 weeks off and then they're straight back into it, and they're getting a little bit more resistance and they haven't worked out how to deal with that, and they're not as motivated because they're just off the back of a major win. I think that's a learning curve and one that'll only benefit them this year. I look at Liquid as a team who are playing for the paycheck. I don't look at Vitality as a team who are playing because they get paid. Obviously they are.
I don't think Liquid is a team that's playing for a paycheck, but I think they are a team they have people in a team who, I don't think they have people who are willing to compromise their vision to get a team vision as the priority.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of what I took from what Shui said. It's going to take them a while to cycle through players until they can be on a page where, let's say, Shui and Flashy are aligned, that they can play the Counter-Strike that they want to play.
Okay. I don't know, man. It just sounds like some fucking commie bullshit, to be honest, to me half the time. Like, all this about we're not focusing on any one player, like we're focusing on the team. It's like, bro, the lack of hierarchy is a problem.
You're fucking so Eastern European.
For them as a team. Listen, man, in Vitality, Flamesy, Mazzy, great guys, great players. Apex too, great IGL of the year.
I love these prefacing. I know,
closer of the year. Bro, the two motherfuckers that have the most say on that team are Zyvo and Rob. Like those are the guys that get the most resources attributed to them, right? And for a good reason. What makes Mazzy and Flamesy great is that they can do a lot with little resources and little focus on
their roles,
right?
Is it that more of communism?
On Falcons, it's Monesi and Kyosuke, right? The two guys for the most part. and Nico being the third player. Like, obviously on Spirit it's Donk, right? So all these teams there's a hierarchy, and there's like, okay, this is our best player, or this is a guy that's the focal point that we want to make the most comfortable, because when he is that, and he is in his comfort zone and he's playing well, he's giving us advantage after advantage, and it's much easier to play the game, right? And there's no feelings hurt about that. Like, that should be pretty clear cut, and that goes into how you build the team. Yes?
Sorry, I was going to let you finish up your last little sentence, but I was going to say, while we're on the subject, the Zontix shit about Spirit is like right up this alley as well, where he's just like, from an organizational perspective, you have to be making changes if you want to keep Donk.
It was funny. His answers were funny because he said, well, if you wanted something to change, you need to make a change, right? But just Zontix interviews. But yeah, for Liquid, I mean, that's the concerning part. You know who's the core of this team? Like, the longest standing 3 players?
NAF,
Ultimate, and Nerds. Does that sound like a sick core to you?
Not really.
Right? So
it did in the first 2 months.
No, just in the sense of also team building. Like, who are the most important players on this team? Who are like the core pieces? If you would be looking at it, you would probably say Shue because he's the IGL, Elige because he's a really good player, and then between NAF and Nerds because, well, one of the veteran riflers, anchors, clutch players, maybe you would say NAF, right? But
honestly, I mean, yeah, go on. Sorry.
I was just going to say, it's just so much that still needs to happen for this Liquid organization in CS before they become relevant.
It's a long way back up the mountain, for sure. You know what's hilarious? Nerds was Rookie of the Year in 2023. Just let that sink in. Isn't that crazy?
The Nerds 1 year before Donk,
in
right?
2023. Yeah. But I think this is, with the question you're asking there, Yanko, something that comes to mind for me is like, you're saying, they should put resources into the best players or whatever, but that's not what happened on FaZe, right? Like, culturally, Elige wasn't a fit for that team. But if you looked at the numbers, it was him and Frozen, the best 2 players.
Yeah.
So, like, where do you find yourself with that?
Well, I think it's just because they weren't really aligned on how to do things that it stemmed from that. That's
what I'm taking from the Shue interview, though. I need to read the whole thing.
Yeah,
I can't believe
I think
missed
it's also,
it.
and I'll say, obviously, every player needs to do their job and needs to execute their role, right, for you to be able to win consistently. It's not like one guy can carry you all the time, even if he's Donk, right? But still, who are the guys that take more resources, that are the focal point of the team, and who are the guys that have to do more with less, right? That they're going to be in the background, staying alive, supporting, throwing utility and whatnot. It's just how it is. And from the Shue interview, it comes along and say, oh yeah, everyone has to do everything, which is true in certain situations. But, Elige is not going to be doing the supporting 60% of the time. He's going to do it 10, 15% of the time when the round works out in that way. Like, that's Counter-Strike, right? Like, it's unpredictable what's going to happen, but you can set it up in a way where the chances of him having to do it often are very low, which is what you are going to do.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I'm glad that we just tried to analyze one sentence from an interview, though.
We did.
I'm the only one who read it because it went out like as we're...
Because I was watching the Apex one in the kitchen, and I must have missed the Shue one when it came out, so I'll have to give that a listen. But like, I was binging them yesterday and today, so they've been good. The Crism one I started listening to, but I got distracted. I don't know what happened. I didn't finish that one right there. But yeah, have you guys been watching much of Blast?
No.
Yeah, I watched a little bit. But I'll be honest with you, I forgot most of it. No, I'll be honest with you, I just kind of, most of it is just fallen out. It's online Counter-Strike, so it wasn't like the most important for me to watch, and just kind of tuning in to see a couple interesting things here and there, but no great takeaways. It's first event of the year. It's online. There's not really a whole lot we're going to lay on this.
I was thinking about this though, because I was going to say, like, I can't wait for next year where PGL overlaps with Bounty. So we don't have a shitty 2-week online event taking 4 weeks of the calendar. Why is there 3 off days in the middle of this bitch? Like,
well, because they got to travel, Yanko, because it's online.
They have to do the draft.
Is
like,
bad.
oh,
Yeah,
what a fucking sick, so fun to watch, man. Whatever. But I was thinking the other thing would be, the only thing it's good for is being a warm-up event. That's the only thing it's good for. so I was thinking like, okay, if PGL does overlap with them, would teams
Then we
auto
won't have
land
our
that
fucking
early
warm-up
on, right? Because
Well,
teams boot camp and play Bounty online from their boot camp, and then if they qualify, they go to Malta for like whatever. But I'm thinking if that event ends up being like a Studio Bucharest event or something like that, that's not like too big of a hassle, I think a lot of teams will play it.
So this I actually asked this question yesterday when I was doing HLTV Confirm, right? Because this is something I brought up. I sent out a Google form to 10 teams. So I sent the Google form out to the top 10 teams in my mind, right? Which was, let me find it. Vitality, Furia, Falcons, Mouse, FaZe, Spirit, Na'Vi, Mongols, G2, Aurora. That's HLTV's.
I was going to say,
Aurora
wow,
in.
it was the same exact. That's crazy.
So I sent those out. I sent those out last week, and essentially the goal of what I sent was asking the teams to rank all the events in the year. I listed all the events, and I had like a 1 to 5 rating, and to rank the events from 1 to 5 based on like prestige, value, and like importance. And I also said like maybe your org wants you to attend a certain event because of frequent flyer or rev share.
Did you
or whatever,
send this
right?
to players or to management?
I sent it to coaches and players. I only had 5 teams fill it out. So I had 50% of the field fill it out. And
That's
the
not
50%
bad.
were
Fucking love 50%.
Furia, Falcons, FaZe, Na'Vi, and G2. So Aurora didn't respond. The Mongols didn't respond. The Mongols I'm not surprised about, right? Like I messaged Mazinho. I'm like,
Yeah, they got other things going on.
right? Aurora, I'm surprised. I messaged Madja. Normally he's pretty good with that stuff. So he didn't
He
reply.
heard you talking shit.
Spirit, I messaged Magix. He just sent me like a fucking smiley face. So then I messaged Constantine, and he never got back to me. I messaged Cycron from Mouse, which I was surprised didn't reply. And I messaged Apex from Vitality. But Apex is probably fed up at talking to me at the moment because we did that whole fucking HLTV confirmed episode after the award show and shit.
Yeah.
So anyway,
You're
I had
not
the
as
5
likable
teams.
as you thought, Chad.
That's true. I know I'm not likable. The girlfriend keeps telling me how unapproachable I am.
50% likable is not bad, dude. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
So I got these teams to rate the events, right? So what I did was I added the ratings that all 5 teams gave together, and I found the average, right? So the lowest event out of all the events in the year, I took the fucking Fisher Playground ones out because we don't know if they're going to happen or not.
Yeah.
Was Starladder Star Series, got a ranking of 1.6. Right? You then had the next 3 events tied. That was Thunderpick, that was Bounty. Oh, there's 4 events, sorry. Bounty ×2 and CAC as the next lowest rated event by those 5 teams at 1.8, right? So for scale, just so people know, they put both majors at 5. Krakow got 4.6, EWC got 4.2, an event like Cluj got 3.6, an event like Rivals and Rio got 3.6, right? Astana got 3.2, Atlanta got 3.4. I know I'm just reading out a lot of numbers right now, but just to give you a scale like of the difference. So the teams are well aware that the format of Bounty is a warm-up one, like you were talking about, Yanko, right? Like and they know it's a low priority, especially because of online Counter-Strike and the offering of VRS. Long way to get to this, but here's the question. If we're all happy to acknowledge that no matter what the first event of the year is, first of all, let's get it the fuck off the internet. Let's get it on LAN, right? That's what we need. But if we're happy to acknowledge the first event is a warm-up event, then should TOs have understand that and put the first event as a warm-up event? And if so, what format would make a good warm-up event?
I don't think it's a question for TOs. I think it's
Why not?
Because, well, I mean, it is at the end of the day because it's going to be their product to get teams there. But there's no way for them to know that without the players and the teams answering them.
Yeah, there is. What offers the most value for VRS?
Yeah, but that's the thing.
Jason,
the way you phrase this question,
of 2026 are the most important for VRS.
The way
so
you
if
phrase this question is a terrible phrasing in terms of not on you.
All right.
I think it's a terrible angle to have as like a perspective for this issue.
Chad.
If you're going to have a warm up event, why would you want it to be VRS points?
They're all going to be VRS points. Jason, you need the teams to attend, right? And
I know,
everyone
but this is
acknowledging.
this is where my mind goes. This is where I say this is the crux of the problem. Don't call it a warm-up event, first of all. It's not a fucking warm-up event if it's VRS. It's not a fucking warm-up event if it's VRS. It's not a fucking warm-up event if it has VRS.
Full week of online Counter-Strike to take up calendar space with 32 teams, single elimination.
It has
Do you know
not-
the teams before they're playing
It is
LAN right
not
now
a
have played
warm-up
2
event
matches before?
if it has VRS implications. It's
My
just
point
not.
here, Jason.
I know
these
what you mean.
TOs
I know what your
are
point
happy
is.
to put on shit events.
Yeah.
So if you're going to put on a shit event, at least tailor the shit event so it's a warm-up event.
Oh, that's great. Let's have that conversation. But it can't be a
That's
warm-up
what I'm
event if you
saying.
have VRS.
But
They all have VRS, Jason.
I know. So nothing's a warm-up event. We don't have any warm-up events. We treat it as a warm-up event. It's not.
They treat it as a warm-up event.
Yeah.
It matters what they do. They treat it as a warm-up event.
Okay.
So then as a TO, tailor your fucking format, do a 32 team event, make it fucking groups of 8, best of 1, round robin to get as many LAN matches as possible, and then do something where you have a decent bracket of 8 to 16 teams. Jason, these TOs are already running online qualifiers and studio events. Those should be start of the season events.
I'm with you.
Save the arenas for when the teams are ready to play their best Counter-Strike.
I'm with you.
Fundamentally speaking, you're saying none of them are warm-up events. They are warm-up events because they haven't played any fucking matches just by the sake of them not playing any fucking matches.
You can't
Jason.
have a warm-up event with this kinds of stakes and consequences.
You can, but here's the thing, Chad. I agree with you for the most part, but it's not up to the TOs for the players to be in shape.
No, I agree.
You know, in the
but
sense
if it's
of-
going to be this way, Yanko, because you're going to know that they're not going to be in the best form for the first event of the year. You know that. That's a fact.
It
Yeah,
is.
You can't plan
It
a
is.
product around that. You can't be like, oh, this fucking...
Why not? Use the
I think
VRS
you
in your favor.
I think you
Own
definitely
the
can.
shit.
Yeah. Like Chad said, like you can just take advantage of it in the sense of you create appeal for teams perhaps, or you raise the stakes by having more I don't think best of 1 is a fucking answer, but whether it's, having Swiss stage, so there's more matches in there, whatever it may be, and also the VRS implication. I mean, that's why you see so many tier 1 teams in Cluj, man. It's just because everyone understands how much, except for Spirit and Liquid apparently, how much it means in the grand scheme of things with Pro League moving to online for the group stage. So it's really Krakow and Cluj. And let's say if you're
Rotterdam is the other one, but only 12 teams are invited.
Yeah. So I think those are the ones that really matter. That's why you see teams attending it. So let's say if, that's what you're thinking about. Like, I don't know, let's say PGL throws another, like people were rumoring about Baku or whatever, or different. Let's say Baku is the first event of the year with 1.6 million, just like Astana. And let's say, in theory, Vitality will skip it, maybe a couple of other teams, not because, but because, well, it's the first one. We'll get Krakow and one more after, so we don't need to maybe play the first one. Or maybe people will do the other way around. They'll play the first one and the second one, skip the third one. I don't know, but can put it in that sort of a way where people will be like, holy shit, we can't afford to miss this event, right? Like,
yes.
It's actually too important for us to miss, which would suck in a way from an ex-coach standpoint, because having an event so early that would be that important would mean you have to, again, cut your break a little bit short or start practicing earlier. And I think the calendar is already so grueling for these teams, like that wouldn't be great. But more to Chad's point, you could do it in an alternative way where you run a tournament that still attracts people with prize money and VRS and everything, but the format of it and maybe the broadcast of it are different, where it's a bit more forgiving and, is
That's
more
what
in the
we need,
spirit
more
of
forgiving
being
formats.
the first event of the season.
This is so, Yanko, you just hit on two things. Striker said this yesterday. He said you could do like the round robin. He said he wouldn't mind round robin group stage if it just meant it was seeding for the bracket. So you could do that as well. You could just do, Jason, it's the first event of the season.
No,
the
bro,
whole point
I'm throwing my hands up. Do you know how many times I've said that? And y'all just fucking freak out. And now you're over here being like, ooh, round robin for seeding is a great idea. Like, what is
needs
happening?
to be in the right place. This is the right
This is the
place
most
for it. The
insane
right
shit.
place for it isn't in fucking June,
We just
bro.
hate your ass,
Right?
Jason.
And then
Apparently, that's what it
Striker-
feels like at the moment.
The other thing Striker said that was fucking great was, instead of having a war, because you might have 4 matches going on at once, just open it up to the community. Say everybody and their fucking dog can co-stream these matches. You do one official stream, you You have the rest of it just being co-streamed, right, and covered by all the people who want to. And then that's how we start the year.
Because doing that already?
Well, we open up the co-streams to every man and his dog already, yes. But for this style of an event, you would just have one official stream, and then the rest would just be community kind of driven, right? And then, you're able to do something which brings people together for the start of the season. Whereas this format right now, this is the other thing that tilted me, because I was looking at the comments from the episode of HLTV Confirmed that I did yesterday, and I think the guy deleted his comment, or someone on HLTV deleted it. But anyway, the guy said I was being disingenuous because of the way I was talking about online CS. Right? He said that they all grew up watching online CS and that the viewers don't have a problem with it. And I was like, am I out of touch? Like, is that how the viewers actually feel? That means we've done a terrible job being the guardians of the Counter-Strike that we grew up playing. Because online Counter-Strike, you hear it from coaches, you hear it from players, you hear it from the people who are actually in the server talking about online Counter-Strike being fucking dirt. Right? Like, it is. Like, I feel like we haven't gone hard enough against online CS. The pandemic has made people fucking soft.
Yeah, that was the first thing my brain went to.
Don't quote that out of context.
He had to have been a pandemic viewer. He had to have been the newbie pandemic joiners.
Yeah, but and that's okay. But like, then we have to reinforce the fact that like
there's no other way to describe online Counter-Strike other than utter trash.
It breeds ambiguity, right? And like, you hear from people who are like pracking against some of these teams. Even certain practice against certain teams online is a waste of time, because fucking Boros will just hold W and swing every angle, but he won't do that in a fucking LAN game, right? And it's like, fuck, I'm getting heated. The room's getting hot. Guys, I'm going to lose it.
I see spots everywhere.
No, absolutely. And the worrisome thing isn't, COVID and whatever. It's like the return of online CS like this year and last year, like with, Bounty, now Pro League 2, for this next season. It's like, we don't need more of these. We need less of these.
I feel like this one is
going to be fucked.
I feel like this would go on our bingo card too, because I feel like once a year we have the touch on online Counter-Strike.
Well, here's the thing. I remember when this format first came out from Blast, I liked it and I could reconcile it from the fact of it being a warm-up event, and I could get on board with that. But now that it's pivoted to the online stuff, I can't get on board with it in the same way, because like, I know that Blast and ESL are struggling, right? That's just the way it goes. But to go to online CS, I feel like that's not the answer. Then just don't take up 2 weeks of the calendar. Just do a shorter event, right? Like,
but I mean, some of the, I don't know, like that's.
Well, you think this is an intentional thing to take up 2 weeks of the calendar? Like, how does this help anybody?
I mean, I don't know, but I assume if I'm running a company that wants to prevent any of my competitors from having dates in the calendar, running long events seems like a good way to go about things. I don't know if that's the strategy.
Yanko's bang on. Like, if I'm a team and let's say PGL schedules over the top of Blast Bounty and they offer 1.25 million with all of it being on LAN, I have more value for VRS points to go to that event than I would to Bounty. So they would lose in that sense anyway, right? So
but nobody's done that before. This is the first time it's really kind of happened.
So that's the point of the conversation. We're like experimenting with the thought, Jason.
Yeah, I get you. I think that's a better way to go about things. I agree with you. I think that taking up less space in the calendar is the right way to go. But I think this is a strategy that was born in the early days of esports that is just lingering. And I think once this kind of kludge comes through, I think this is kind of going to break the bubble of that line of thinking. I think we're going to start seeing TOs, whether it's financial or just purely business reasons, just saying, it's smarter for us to just do targeted, like really, really good events than take up this crazy amount of space in the calendar with just a very long, kind of mediocre event. Why not make things more targeted? That makes more sense to me.
PGL run like it's essentially a week and a half, but you may as well round up and say 2 weeks, right, with travel time and everything in there.
Yeah.
They run A and B streams the whole time. They run a comprehensive Swiss 16-team group, and then they run an 8-team playoff bracket over 3 days.
We've already seen it happening, Chad. Like, we've already saw Pro League go from 5 weeks to 3 weeks to 2 weeks. We've seen that kind of scale down as well over the past 3 years. So,
and they're even scaling down more from season 23 into season 24. Yeah. Season 23 is 24 teams. Season 24 is just down to 16. It's just going to be like one of those PGL events I just referenced. In terms of the amount of time it's going to take. But yeah, I guess this is the thing, like, because the whole point was was two things here. One is to do with the format and just the general space, because this isn't just like Blast directed. Anybody could put the tournament on as the first event of the year, right? This is where you're getting the Counter-Strike viewers who are hungry and horny to watch again, right? It's like we've just had 3 to 4 weeks off. The majors ended. We want to see what all these roster changes netted us, right? So anybody can take advantage of that. And then the other side was me getting one guide by a comment on a YouTube video that's not even there anymore. So, you know.
So how's that make you feel? Is it a good thing to invest your energy into?
I just don't know. He called me disingenuous. I'm like, if anything, I like.
Oh, hits you with a big
I
word
don't know.
too.
Yeah, but I don't know why. I was like, what's disingenuous about me not liking online Counter-Strike? Like, I don't know. I feel like I've been watching Counter-Strike for long enough.
I think sometimes there's a certain segment of the fan base that sometimes thinks that our role is to be the mouthpiece for their opinions. You know what I mean?
That's not it at all. That's the opposite.
I know, and I don't think that's very widespread, but I think there's like a small percentage of the community that thinks that we're supposed to amplify their kind of emotions and viewpoints more than anything. I don't know. It's interesting.
I also have a hard time. Like, there's certain things I've realized that I don't find myself in the same place with as certain fans, and it's similar to point Yanko you would talk about with like phase, like how if you're in phase, there's an expectation that you win. Like for me, I think I was never really into team sports. Like I didn't watch Aussie Rules football. I played soccer, aka football. But I would never really supported a club or anything. Like for me, I'm always interested in seeing, okay, what's the complexion of players? How do they play with each other? Liquid, they're a good org, but they have a average team. I just expect them to be average. Like I don't have any high expectations, but people in the Discord are like, no, but they're a good org, like with good players, they should be good. And I go, well, when were any of these players last good? Like when did any of them last do anything? Like, I'm just looking at what we have, not at what people expect the name Liquid to have. And I realize maybe that's why I also don't like buy into all the Falcons stuff too. I'm just like, okay, they have lots of money. Okay, that's cool. I'm just looking at the players and the way they're playing Counter-Strike.
Big name players. The Falcons one makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
the
Liquid side, idiot.
I think it's just a lot of people. We spent 5 years where Liquid was like kind of like this one of the better teams and dangerous and like that kind of a feeling. Like same reason why everyone feels like the Yankees should always be winning in base. Actually, I shouldn't even fucking venture into baseball, but but the Yankees have the reputation of being winning, of spending a shit ton of money. I'm sure there's football clubs over there in your part of the world that have the same reputation too, but yeah, I don't know.
In Australia, well,
I think people are
Maybe.
slow to get off that feeling, right?
I think they're just a huge organization, right? And they're a U.S. organization, so their fans are vocal. They have a big following because they're big in other games too. They've made big moves in the past, right? Like had big name signings, perhaps at times. It just didn't pan out. Like they've always been struggling to find that success, so people still talk about it and have those expectations. That's like, who can I say that you guys will probably both know? Well, I guess it would be similar to what's happening to Manchester United, right? Like, which is a huge football team from England, right?
The Yankees of football, Chad.
Haven't had great results for years now, right? And people still have massive expectations because of the history and everything, and the money that they're spending and the players that they have, but they've kind of lost it, and probably sooner or later they'll be back. It's like if the same thing happened to Barcelona or Real Madrid, it's like you just don't see it happening. But for Liquid, especially
definitely lost it.
Especially when you consider esports years, it's like 5 years is like 10 in sports.
Okay.
It's been even longer that they've been out of it.
Has any org, let's just go since CSGO, maintained the expectation of their namesake? Now, don't just pick a shit team and say Vox Eminor and like really just kick me in the dick. We need to do this from like a legitimate angle, because NIP, no. Fnatic, no. SK Gaming, no.
Navi. Just CSGO on, you're saying?
Navi's
probably the closest we've got at the moment.
And they've fallen one rung. But these other names I just listed, I could keep going. Astralis, right? They have all fallen many a rung. Liquid, these teams. Mouse
gotten a bit better, but still not, amazing. G2 also, depending on how you look at it, right? FaZe.
I think it's
so
hard.
and so. I think FaZe is
we-
another one, but it's just that FaZe is so, it has like peaks and valleys, right? Like,
I think-
go ahead.
This is also the area I think where like you would judge, like this is the area where like you point towards an area that in orgs that we know like doesn't have a lot of experience and not a whole lot of like people have figured out how to do the job well because it's such a new industry. But this is where you judge the GM, right? Like if you're sitting there.
No, this is where I look at Counter-Strike as a perfect concoction of 5 to 8 people who are finding themselves at any given time on the same page, producing the best Counter-Strike possible.
And Liquid just lost their map pick against Falcons with a standing, with winning both pistols.
Yep. That's where I look at it, Jason. I look at it like, because the reason these teams fell off is because they weren't able to get the pieces to get them back to where they were. And in the early days, most of these projects were player driven.
Yes, and that's why I say like this is an area where you judge the GM, or at least you probably will in the future as it develops, because this area of wanting orgs to have less time between like their peaks and less time of like a drop off is sort of the way a GM works the industry and the scene and brings players in and gets players under their kind of sphere of influence in a way, because we don't have academy teams.
I think you judge an organization, right? And sure, GM is sort of the face of the organization for that division. I don't think necessarily we're layered yet in CS, but
no, we're definitely not. Yeah.
So to speak, yeah, because I think that's a testament to how can you develop players? What sort of team have you put together? What's your staff like? You know, everything, all of those things matter. That's why we praise a team like Mouse. That's why maybe we praised Navi last year for their mental fortitude. You know, that's why you praise Vitality for their shrewdness in player acquisition, right?
This is where it'd also be cool, I think, because like remember we had the conversation like a few years back about when, you know, I think it was probably when we were just starting to do the podcast about like the 6-man lineups, the 7-man lineups that were being brought in, and we were kind of like, this is a cool idea and it's probably where things are heading, but this is probably a little bit too early for it as well. But, you know, this feels like this ties into that mode where we're seeing like the academy teams have more of a thing, more players promoted from academy teams. So now the GM is bringing younger players into the academy system that can then be brought up for cheap. So I don't know. I think we're starting to see some of that infrastructure come in to where, you know, these kinds of like kind of like dynasty or like organizations can set up long-term ways to maintain a particular level.
I think also here's one for all our NA fans. I think you look at what happened in college football this year with Indiana winning the championship, and they have like something crazy like the low number of high star recruits that they've got. So Chad, for you, that means like players who were touted to be very, very good that they went out to recruit to their program. Instead, they were sort of trying to find players that were the right fit culturally, because these are all, you know, people in college, young players, young people still developing, and they would try to develop, you know, they would be developing players from the inside, and they ended up having an incredible turnaround to their program in like 2 or 3 years, but now they won the national championship. I think, for example, Mouse would be an example of Indiana, while Liquid is, you know, that they just keep trying to get like the big name, or, you know, like just players that like sound kind of right, but there's no big picture. You know, no one's looking at the big picture. There's no direction, you know, up until I feel like the hiring of Flashy, where you're hoping that he gets to have a lot of say in a lot of these things, and he can set up the structure and the foundation, right? Because they've just been, they've lacked guidance for so long, right?
It's been a while now.
They were just straying to you know, in all these different directions, and none of it has worked. And at some point, you need to make like a big cut, and philosophically, you know, make a change in your philosophy if you're going to see any meaningful changes in results.
There's a few things here that are interesting, because like with everything you're saying, I agree with the sentiment of having to make the big changes. But now with the VRS and the signings, this is what Shui referenced in the interview, is it's harder you can't pivot on a dime, or you can, but you have to start from the bottom. So now you need to be like strategic over the course of maybe not 1 season, but 2 seasons. And you think with how short some of these players' careers can be, you know, maybe that's where that player gets used up without the best environment, and then he gets fucking lobbed out because he didn't deliver when he had to. So I think that's a curious angle angle right there, because those changes now are going to take a little bit more time or some real gaming of the system. And then the other side of that, I think the other thing you were mentioning there, Jason, with the academy teams, because, yeah, the 6-man roster ain't going to happen so much. This is why early on I said this Nucleons kid, I'm interested to see if he's looking decent or not, is because the academy has to kind of be the future. We're not always just going to be able to see, oh, fuck, there's Donk. Oh, there's a Molodoi, right? Like, it feels like that is becoming less and less, right? When we're seeing people just pop out of nowhere. Whereas, and with less national teams, you don't get as many, like groupthink come through and punch their way in, and we look at the core of the team. Now it's like, oh, will this individual be a good fit over here? Because we are truly international, other than what? Like, fuck, a handful of teams. The Mongols, Aurora, right? Spirit, obviously.
3D Max.
Yes, yeah. So it's few and far, but so yeah, a lot of the breeding of players is going to happen through academies and stuff. So yeah, I don't know how we judge teams.
Did you see this? What did you take from the Kixon interview and statement? I mean, this is just the headline. A lot of Shenzhen events happened this year. It was impossible to get Kyosuke for all. So the implication is going to be he's going to miss multiple events in the Schengen zone.
I spoke with Xavier a little bit last year as well, and they already knew that they were going to have these type of issues, right? So they have to pick and choose. So,
but what's the cutoff? Like, if
where does it become too much of a problem?
They've declined Pro League, so the
longer ones make sense. They'd have to be here for, although Pro League's online. So.
He'll get. I mean, they're aiming for Krakow and Cluj, right? And those are the two big ones. And after that, I don't know about Rotterdam
after that for them.
No, but you know what I mean? Like, what if he misses 2 events across a year? It's probably not a big deal. If he misses 4 or 5, it starts to become an issue.
But I think they knew he was going to miss this one, and they just played the online games knowing that he probably couldn't make land, and they had to use a stand-in because they said that Nucleons was at the boot camp space with them.
I'm using this as the example. Just like what do you think is
the
like
way they're doing it is they're sort of picking and choosing events to some extent around that. Like they're making sure he can attain a visa for the big events that they want to attend, and then they weren't going to play every event in the calendar anyways. So they're skipping another one and using that time for him to get a visa for like the one that they actually want to go to.
And you can still practice at home and stuff. So as long as for the events that they want to go to, they get the visas. It's
just less flexibility, right? Like if you need to panic sign up to an event because you don't have enough points, you're just in a weird place.
Sure, but they're not in that position of conversation right now. Like, I think if that becomes a problem, then you'd be talking about roster changes anyway, wouldn't you? So, I think that, it's definitely less than ideal, and it sucks because it puts a bit of a dampener on their run right now at Bounty, because I think that there is a conversation to be had about like picking up momentum early, but maybe that has to come in more of a marquee event like a Krakow than a Bounty. But like with Krakow into Cluj and essentially all the top teams at Cluj, I find that as a really interesting dynamic.
You're going to see the top teams. You're kind of
imagine you see the top teams doing battle week 1 week apart, if that, because it's going to be Swiss. So you're going to see a lot of these recurring matches, and they're completely different results. That's going to set things, or you just get some dominant results too. So it could go both ways, couldn't it? But I think that's going to be a really interesting dynamic, because last year we didn't have that. We had all or most of the top teams play Bounty. We had everyone play Cato, and then other than say Mouse, which had just brought in Spinks, we didn't really, and Falcons were there too. We didn't really have too many top teams at Cluj, but this time we get them all. And I think that's going to be really cool, because it's been a while, I feel, since we've had
we get all the top teams at Krakow,
back to back.
All the top teams a week later at Cluj.
No, we don't have Spirit and Liquid.
Just no
not
Spirit.
Every top team, most top team.
The problem with that is because the conversation was dominated over the Christmas break of Donk versus Zywoo. So to not have that head to head, especially if we get like a semi or a final between
honestly,
the two teams
it doesn't bother me. Like, we have so many good players and teams encountered. We're so fucking lucky in this game at the moment with how many good.
Yeah, I'm happy to see more Furia.
Yeah.
I the one that I'm questioning, right? How do you boys feel about Mao's skipping Bounty? Because I know we've spoken about it, how online, it has diminishing returns. It also doesn't show like a true level of Counter-Strike.
I wish every fucking team skipped it.
But they want. Apex told me the reason they're doing Bounty is to warm up for Krakow, so they're not going in cold.
Makes sense. I mean, it's hard to go to Krakow for it to be your first event, right? Like, because of how stacked the field is going to be, and then let's say you lose your opening best of 3, you need to win 3 games in the lower bracket just to make the playoffs, right? And on one side. On the other side, I mean, teams that have been together for a long ass time, if you do a bit of a boot camp before that tournament starts, get everyone on the same page, right? Like I'm starting to fucking hate this conversation about ring rust and first tournament out of the break. Like these players have been in this ecosystem for so long now. They have so many tournaments under their belt. Like that can't be, you know, an excuse anymore to the same extent. I mean, you look at, I don't know, fucking tennis, Australian Open is at the start of the fucking year after the break. It's one of the 4 big ones, right? Can't be saying, oh yeah, well, shit, it's in fucking January, innit? Like, can't. How am I supposed to, you know, it was just Christmas. I ate a lot of food, you know, like, it's like, who gives a fuck? That's when a big tournament is. Like, it's up to you as a player, it's up to you as a team to be ready to play. If that means you need to play a tournament before it, then sign up for a tournament. If you don't need that, then take the extra time off to practice, right? First for the players to rest from a long season and then to practice. But, you know, you can't come in after you played, let's say, Bounty and be like, yeah, it's still like early in the season. Or you decided to skip events prior to it and be like, it's just the first events. It's like, I don't want to fucking hear that.
But isn't this what Jason was saying before that I was against? Jason saying that, like, you know, the TO can't decide if it's a warm-up event or not. Like,
Yeah,
that's
it's fine.
you're essentially saying the same thing. Yeah, but isn't that what you were saying, Jason? Like, is the same thing Yanko's saying?
I just don't think you can. I don't think you can. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, basically.
Is it or not? Because from that
I mean,
angle,
he's right. It's like, well, I'm just saying, like, my point was more like any event that you want to like have as like a warm up event shouldn't have VRS to it. Like we can't. I think I hate going into these events as like the first event of the year and being like, this is a warm up event for me. I'm like, but it has huge fucking implications. And
it doesn't, but it does not. It does not. Bounty doesn't have huge fucking implications. That's why
points,
people are playing it.
It doesn't have huge implications for the best teams in the world. It has huge implications for the lesser teams that are attending.
Only if they get wins at the land portion.
Okay, that's huge implications if they get the wins. It's all huge implications for a team at that level. That's the difference of qualifying to a fucking event and not qualifying to an event. That's a big implication. So if you're going to, like, this is one thing that the VRS was supposed to solve, was that every team who attended event had a stake in winning the event, that everyone had that goal, that some teams weren't just showing up to play and warm up, and some teams weren't using an event as a boot camp, that everyone at an event was playing for the VRS points and playing to win. So I don't want TOs to say, here's your fucking layup warm-up event with 6 Swiss rounds.
Aren't these things essentially like aligned with the two of you? Because Yanko's saying you got to come back.
I'm not trying to fight anyone. I'm just sounding angry right now.
I don't know, Jason. Doesn't sound like it.
But this is the thing. Like Yanko's saying,
10,000 miles across the world from me.
You need to be ready to play if you're a professional player. That's what Yanko's saying, and you're saying that a tournament you cannot justify a tournament as a warm-up event because it has ramifications on major qualification.
Yeah, we're kind of aligned. We're pretty much on the same side.
The only thing is Jason still knows fuck all about the VRS, so it's like thinks that every tournament is mega important and every win is life or death.
No, I don't think it's life or death, but it's important.
Players are taking advantage and teams are taking advantage of how the event is structured, where doing well at it isn't the most important thing. Obviously, every team that's playing
stop running the fucking event. Why are we having a tournament where performing well isn't the number one goal? Go fuck yourself. What are we talking about? Why am I presented as the crazy person? I'll be the fucking crazy person.
You're not, Jason. This is how we solve the problem on both ends of the spectrum. We can fix what Yanko's saying and we can fix what you're saying. So what we do is we create an environment where the event does mean something by removing the online portion, but we make it more forgiving, which I know you didn't like that before, but we make it more forgiving with a round robin group stage of some variety, so more matches are played. And then they play the games once they're warmed up in the first week. Everyone gets to see the new rosters on display. We get to see how this team versus this team goes, and this team versus this team. We get to see a lot of exciting head-to-heads, which is cool. And then we get them going toe-to-toe in a playoff. And everybody wins. The event matters. We get to some valuable data. It's on LAN. It's
I'm in.
it's
Cool.
a
Sign me up.
win-win.
Yeah, I'm there. Yeah, let's go.
See, now you're there.
Well, I mean,
it took a
I
while,
think,
but we
I think
got
honestly,
there.
I think like one thing, this is the one thing that's kind of sad with me about the VRS, because like when you asked this question originally about like this whole concept of like a warm up event to start the year and change it, I'm like, that'd be fucking sweet. Isn't there a way in which we can go to the top teams and say, there's going to be no VRS implications or consequences, but here's a bunch of prize money. Let's get 4 teams to just come play like a round of exhibition games. You know what I mean?
It's capped. You can't put much. I think it's like you can only you're limited to a certain 200,000, 100,000
For non-VRS events, you can't just do like a fucking E-League Clash for Cash anymore.
It's capped, man. It's capped. Yep, it's capped. I'm sorry. No cap. It's capped. All that shit. You know, like the kids are saying. You can't do that.
Someone could do a wild card, but that would be also I don't know, different. I don't know. I'm fine with that. The problem is also, Jason, like different teams are playing for different things, right?
Reasons,
like for Vitality, it's about winning the event. For Eyeballers, it's about winning a game, you know, or
putting
two
themselves
games.
in the shop window.
For sure.
They did,
Yeah,
to just get
I'm
some
with you.
points. And I think also, don't want to get too deep into this, Chad, but the whole thing with, you know, best of ones or whatever round robins for seeding would be, I think that would be for tier 2 teams, that would be the worst, because then if they end up losing games to tier 3 teams, you know, those LAN games are valuable for them. I don't know how that would pan out for some of these other teams, like if that would make the format worse off for them.
Well, it just gets lots of LAN. Like essentially, my thought is just playing a lot of LAN games, because that's one of the big components, especially for that. It'd have to be an extended team size. It couldn't just be like 16 teams, because I think you want to. Obviously, TOs, they don't agree with this because they want to save money by not having to fly so many players and teams out to events and have so many facilities and stuff. But for the VRS to operate, Valve have put in a new thing, and it doesn't happen at the start of this year, but it happens later this year, where the tournaments have to run with 20 team minimum, which means a lot of these TOs are starting to do a thing where they'll invite, let's say, 12 teams directly based off of global VRS, and then they'll qualify 4 teams, and then what will happen is the qualifiers count as like the event. Yes, exactly. So then they do that online, and then they involve many more, which is good, because then that was one of the problems we had last year.
It opens it up, right? Yeah.
Yes, but the thing is, like with ESL, who were one of the flagship events with EPL of running a lot of teams, now that they're only moving to 16, it shows that for them, it's like, well, if everyone else is only going to run 16, what value do we have in running a large scale event? Because Blast have 2 events in the year that are 8-team events. Yeah. They have this one, the bounties are essentially 8-team events, because the online portion is just a qualifier, right? Like ESL run Krakow and Cologne that are 24-team events. The major's 32, EWC's 32, and then everything else is essentially 16 on LAN. Other than that, right? So it's like the door is still pretty closed. Pro League is even less.
It's just the finals.
8 teams on LAN. That's right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. So, you know, look, I think we're in a good spot overall. Like a lot of the stuff we're talking about now is starting to nitpick and find it. But this is one thing that I think is going to be important. I think that TOs are in the future going to have to plan their events better around VRS cutoff dates. What type of events would be good around VRS cutoff dates, right? Things that can bring a level of excitement that us, the people at home who are watching, can get around. That's what you're looking for. And if you as a TO learn how to game that, that's how you're able to put on the most exciting events. Yeah,
I just hope we see.
That's why you need a fucking
formats.
Mihal Slavinsky. You need a Mihal Slavinsky up in this bitch.
I just want different formats, man. Bring me a little bit more spice. We can't be doing
fuck the Swiss, bro.
Can't be doing Swiss with everything still. Like I can't. We've gone backwards. We've gone back to like 2019. I think every event was Swiss, and it was so painful.
I
just don't know. I don't know what you can do
GSL.
now anymore.
GSL's good. Yeah. GSL's good. I think like the EWC format's pretty good.
I'm also saying a lot of this conversation is because, we're giving it like to teams so the teams can say, I don't want to play like my first tournament to be crowded. It's like,
I've never heard Yanko do a voice. I've never heard Yanko do a voice before in my life.
I don't care, dude. I'm not going to give you that anymore. Like you're coming here, you're supposed to, the season has started. We're live. There's money involved. There's points involved. It's up to you to be ready to play. I don't care. Like for you to come in, we know how it is. It's like the first term. Why? What you forgot how to talk about Counter-Strike, to communicate, to shoot, to use your mouse and keyboard? Is this the first time you took it up after the player break started? No, you've been practicing for 10 days. What's the problem here? We're past that. I'm starting this, Chad. I'm going to start indicting all these teams on the broadcast where it's like, I'll say, oh, but I guess they just don't have they have a shit culture in their team.
Bloody hell,
if they're going to come in and say, guys, the first tournament, no one's going to say the first tournament doesn't matter, but when you're treating it like that, and it's like, whatever, and all of this, and if you use that as an excuse, you're going down, buddy.
You're getting fucking torched by Yanko.
So what if one of the things that I thought was going to become a big part of the VRS was like tournament selection for teams and picking and choosing what events they want to go to and when they want to peak and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And obviously you're having to navigate that minefield of decisions along with frequent flyers, rev share, Grand Slam, right? All that type of stuff. You're having to make those choices. And then your ownership wanting you to be at events for exposure, for sponsors, or to win club share if you're a decent team. And then you're managing that with the type of breaks that you need to be able to practice and stuff. I think that right there, that's something that Vitality did very good in the first season of 2025, but mainly backed up because they were winning, right? Obviously, it could have gone catastrophic if they were losing and they weren't, they were skipping events or they were having these breaks. But I think that is going to be the most interesting evolution of team management that we're going to see in the VRS in the next couple of years.
Well, I think last year I could probably point to 3 teams that I think we saw heavily affected in a negative manner by the travel schedule that they busted out. We saw the way it wrecked their season. 3D Max is one of them in the second half with the back and forth to China 6 times before the major. And then Aurora in the first half of the year as well. Has signed up to pretty much every single event, and by the end of the first season, we're just sat there we're on the road all the time. We don't see anyone at all. They overbooked themselves and burnt out. And then I'd argue the other one, although this one could go either way, 50-50, Mongols, with the way we weren't even boot camping at one point because they were just on the road so much, traveling constantly. I don't know if that was the root cause, which is why I say 50-50, but eventually led into what seems like from the outside burnout into Senzu departing the team. So I'd say their schedule as well is pretty busted.
The Senzu one's a weird one, isn't it? But yeah, I see. Wow, theirs was weird though because they didn't even practice for Cologne.
Yeah, they did. They were 2 or 3 events that they didn't practice for in that stretch, wasn't it? They didn't think they boot camp for EWC and they won that event.
Actually, you've activated my trap card. This needs to be a weekly segment. It's Boot Camp Watch with Yanko. Yanko, who's at the facility right now?
No one from Counter-Strike.
Jesus, who's there? What team? What game?
A couple of Dota teams.
Yeah, it had to be Dota. It's not that we don't like you, Dota. It's just that we're kind of a Counter-Strike podcast, so
it doesn't help us really at all.
I very much like them. Really God bless them.
I thought we were going to get Mongols at your facility or whatever before Krakow. I wonder what they're doing because Cobra Zero, this new kid, so we'll have to see how he goes.
Probably not practicing, knowing the Mongols.
Yeah, just rock up, see how they go.
That's my point.
Well, because we're probably not going to do an episode before Krakow starts, are we?
Are we not?
I don't think so, unless we do one on the Tuesday of the media day.
Maybe like that.
Yeah, but what are we going to do?
Well, we're going to have to figure that out, Chad. Probably not doing an episode.
I'll have to work out what to pack, but yeah.
This is what happens?
Yep. This is what happens. Yeah, no, I like, you let people have a peek behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Everyone likes looking behind curtains, don't they, Jason?
Oh, I have a fucking huge curtain looker behind her. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, loves a
curtain looker behind her. Words never uttered before.
What else is going on? I think this is a pretty chill week because we just had the results from Blast.
I mean, there were all these interviews, but
we don't have to go nuts on all of them. I like that. I put that in Ultimate. Sometimes I'm a genius. Sometimes I'm a donkey. He's self-aware. I appreciate that.
I think maybe there's some of the stuff that we didn't talk about from Bounty, but it depends on because we've had this conversation about the event itself. FaZe losing, Na'Vi losing, right? Do you guys put any stock in those results?
I think it's just funny because those are the 2 teams that you would have expected to make a roster change, and they didn't. And they both started the season with losing, their first game.
Also, we go back to that other conversation where I say no because it's online Counter-Strike. Like, I don't like, you know, again, this doesn't change my
yes,
opinion.
because it's a warm-up event, Jason.
Shut the fuck. Doesn't actually like change any opinions, right? It's just like, that's kind of funny. They just went from the grand final of the major to losing online immediately.
But I think the thing is, like, obviously only the most recent history has that framing, but the framing for both FaZe and Na'Vi going into the major was not one that filled us with much confidence.
Yeah.
But they both had deeper runs, much deeper runs than I think the expectation was of the teams based off of the Counter-Strike we had seen throughout the season.
I'll say, I think especially for Na'Vi, that them not making a roster change isn't a product of their run at the major, more of the market circumstances. You know, it's not like, they had a great run. Oh, yeah, we fully believe in this 5-man roster. We're going to keep rolling with it. I think they wanted to make a change. There was just nothing made sense when looking at, I don't know, the buyouts and this and that. So they just kind of had to keep going with the same roster. FaZe, I don't know, man.
They hit the trap. They sprung the trap.
From what they've been saying and how it sounds from their interviews, sounds like they believe in this particular 5-man roster. I don't know. I don't see them breaking into contender status this season.
I love where this rabbit hole goes, though. It's such a fun rabbit hole, isn't it? Right? Like, if FaZe are having there's a lot with FaZe, isn't there? There's a lot to unpack.
There's a ton with FaZe. FaZe could be its own episode.
So much to unpack. Why don't we wait until we see what they do at Krakow?
Yeah.
And then we can,
then we can
really get into it. Then we can really get into it.
Had a sick round.
Oh, okay.
I'm on YouTube, so I'm a little bit delayed. Shui's in pit.
Ooh, hello.
You're very
Nucleons
delayed.
is planning the... Oh, how far behind am I?
Very far
Oh, I
behind.
am very
Ooh, there we go.
delayed. Yes.
Oh, it's a
I am
classic
very
liquid
far
round. This is a classic liquid turn of events, isn't it? Just to...
Oh, Nucleons. That's not... I'm far behind, but that's... Oh.
He's not happy with what he's seen from the rookie. Not happy about that performance.
He was pretty good on Nuke, I thought. Oh, okay.
We're gonna make
it
some
wasn't
mistakes,
the most flashy Yanker, but it was a 1v3, so I'll give him that. It wouldn't win highlight of the year. Did you guys see I started the channel on the Discord?
Did you?
Yes.
You went nuts. Oh my God, he's got
The
it.
public ledger. I started the channel, and people have been abiding by it so far. So far, there's 4 clips in there. There's
Public ledger.
Elijah's UMP ace. There's Mezzi's USP ace on Overpass. There's Nut with a 1v3 versus the Falcons online. And there's a 4K from Kyle Sucky to win a 2 versus 5.
Okay, so what are you doing in this? Can I just ask what we're doing in this channel?
Well, right now,
this channel is for no conversations. Post highlights from tournaments, match of the playoffs, and MVP contenders. So have you gone through and changed all the settings, or did you just match it?
I didn't do any of that
Okay.
shit, man. Some guys started typing a lot of shit, so I just deleted his comments. I do this shit manually, Jason.
Okay.
This is like IRC up in this bitch. I don't know what a bot is.
I got you.
Other than myself.
No, we can help you
I
out.
don't know
We'll make
anything.
this. We'll streamline this. I like it. We're gonna move it up higher in the community so that people see the public ledger more frequently.
Nice. That's what we're hopeful.
Yeah.
More visibility on the public ledger. Okay. I need to put a disclaimer out. A lot of my opinions and views on things are from my brain damage, everybody. So I need everyone to understand that just because I don't understand supporting and having expectations of organizations doesn't mean that you guys are wrong. It just means that I don't have that in my brain. That's all that means. And I even have a fundamentally tough time understanding the concept because I don't know. I think I'm broken. So I'm sorry to everybody because of that appeared to be an opinion that was quite common. So I just don't have that one. That doesn't exist. I'm also not double jointed or anything fun like that. So, I do miss out in a couple of key areas where things could be fun. What other disclaimers do I need to put in?
I don't know.
If you do enjoy watching online Counter-Strike, how can we demonstrate to you that it's not
fun?
Not good. Yeah. I don't know how we can get that.
We cannot, outside of just clipping the statements of players and people involved or showcasing things from games online where you're like, this would not happen in a LAN game. This is the exact sort of move that doesn't happen if we're on LAN or whatnot and things like that. But it's hard because it's an intangible It's one of those things where you go to so many LAN events. It's like you're not going to get excited to play an online game, right? Like for these tier 1 teams, and it's opposite. And also it's the playground of the tier 3 teams. Like that's what they almost exclusively play.
Yeah. Okay. Well, do we want to get out of here?
Yeah,
Are we done?
I think we're all good unless anyone got something else.
I'm going to do this.
I'm excited for
Paravision.
eyeballers. I'll say that.
Okay.
That's it.
That's great.
That's all I got. It's my last sentence.
They might qualify for Rio. So I was just going to say I'm going to do this Paraversion versus Spirit game tomorrow night.
Lovely.
With the co-stream.
Cool.
So people can watch that if they're interested.
We didn't talk about
That's it.
this at all, but I didn't know if anyone had anything. And Chad, maybe you from speaking to him unconfirmed, Ash exploring opportunities outside Gamer Legion seems kind of insane. Less than a year after he signed an extension, which at the time everyone was like, "Why is he signing this? He should be looking at opportunities elsewhere."
Yes.
And now we're here, and he's looking for opportunities elsewhere.
Yes.
Is there anything to this?
Yes. I think it's one of those can't see the forest for the trees type situations, Jason.
Okay.
Because now obviously it is going to be, now that the season's already commenced, and if you take a look at the teams, who needs a coach at the moment.
Yeah,
so I think it is going to be tough for him at least this season, but maybe going into the next season he might be able to find himself a coaching spot. But yeah, it is kind of one of those scenarios where it's like, well, yeah, probably thought you should have moved on a little bit earlier than this. But
yeah,
there's nothing. I didn't poke and prod him because Stryker told me before we started doing the interview or started doing the podcast that they have done an interview with Ash at the award show that they were going to publish at some point. So I said, okay, well, there's no point us going into, the burnout.
That's going to come.
Stepping
That's
down
going to come
everything.
later. Yeah.
But I said that. I prefaced it. I said, hey, like, I know you did this interview, but is there still anything you want to say? And then he was like, oh, yeah, I asked Gamer Legion if I can explore my options. And I was like, oh, shit, okay. So, but I didn't dig into it more because that wasn't why we were having him on the show.
Yeah, it's also not the forum to be like, hey, give me this great insight into how you're going to manage your career for the next 3 months.
Yeah, right. And so I don't have any more information other than he said he's looking at his options.
Cool.
So, and I think you summarized what happened well.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Guys, I hope there was an echo all episode.
I do too, actually. I once again, I haven't thought about it since the last time we talked about it, but now that you say
Please
it,
no.
I kind of hope there's
Because
an
it's
echo.
probably me if it has happened again and
so
I
funny.
again sounded like a, I don't know, AI chatbot. So
Dickhead.
it's very hard to do it this way. So if there's an echo, I'm out.
All right. Peace.
Let's go.